Hello, custom car enthusiasts, and welcome back to Car Mechanic Simulator 2018. So in the last episode at the end, we went ahead and picked up these two vehicles. So we've got running gear faults is basically what we've got on this car, so we're going to need to take out the, well, not what I wanted to press there. We're going to need to basically take apart the running gear, and we'll go ahead and take the tires off and refurbish them as well, because why not, while we're at it, make it look a little nicer of a vehicle. All this stuff's coming off, so we'll refurbish what we can, even if the stuff didn't have to be refurbished, because if we're doing the job, we're going to do it right. Alright, let's get that one off. I mean, even the gas tank looks bad. I'm fighting the urge to just take much more of this off than I'm needing to. It is a real shame that this vehicle is in this state, but you know what? I've got to draw a line somewhere. We're taking care of the running gear faults, so that means I'm allowed to take all this apart and work on it, but I'm not going to do any more than that, because the person's not paying for that, and I don't want to be messing with their vehicle too much. As I said, though, it is a shame seeing a great car like this in this kind of condition. But we'll do what we can to go ahead and improve it. And get it at least back up to some sort of shape. Alright. I mean, personally, this is the kind of car I would love to find in a barn find, because I'd love to rebuild this to where it should be. Because it obviously is not there right now. I'd pull this engine out, I'd pull pretty much every single thing I could out, and just redo it all. It's what the car deserves. But, unfortunately, not my call to make in this case. We'll do what we can for it. Game was resisting a little bit there. Alright. Get over to this side. Start stripping this off. Really not sure how much of this we're going to find is actually repairable and how much of it just needs to be thrown in the garbage. but I guess we'll see. Alright, so that's the entire suspension of the vehicle taken off. Let's go ahead and take apart these tires. And go ahead and take apart these springs. Springs, as I said, are probably just going to go in the garbage, but we'll still do our job as we're supposed to. Take it all apart and see what we're allowed to repair. Oh, that one might actually be repairable. Who knows? There we go. Those are all taken apart. We'll go ahead over here. I'm still looking forward to that vehicle here in a little bit, so we will hopefully get to it here shortly. Alright, let's see how we did. Still have some parts that need to be replaced, no surprise there. A lot of rubber bushings and stuff, but not the end of the world. So let me go ahead and purchase those, then I'll be right back, and we'll put it back together. Alright, so now let's start reassembling some of these parts. Those basically did have to be thrown in the bin, as I had suspected they would. These we didn't have to do anything with, other than we just fixed them up so they're a bit nicer. Tires on them aren't great, but you know what? They'll at least look better. And that's all I'm going for here, because of the fact that this is this person's car. They want it to be sort of junk. That's up to them. I feel bad for the vehicle overall, as I feel like it deserves more than that. Then we got that one over there that I'm just looking forward to. That's going to be a lot of fun here in a little bit, I think. Alright, so we've got 2 wheels left to balance. Yeah, from what I remember, that one's got engine issues. That's going to be a lot of fun to work on those engine issues. So, excited for that. We'll get that here in just a little bit. Just waiting on this last tire, and then we'll get to the reassembly here. And I do assume we've gotten everything here. Yep, we've found all the parts that were bad. So let's start putting it back together. Get these small rubber bushings put in here. Always like to do those fairly early on so that way I don't forget them. Because that is one of those things that I do forget once in a while. Not a good thing. Don't really have to try to figure out later where they are. Now they are the smaller ones, so it makes it a bit easier. But still don't like having to play those guessing games of where it might need to go. Alright. Only thing we had to do there was just the brake drum, so that's not bad at all. And the wheels look a lot better now. As well as the drive shaft. Alright, as I said, sort of sad doing only half a job here, but that's what the customer wants. So that's what we're going to do for him. Get that one in place. Get the plate here. There we go. But really, with the things we were able to repair, it wasn't that huge of a bill on the parts spend for this car. So that's a pretty good thing. Did have to replace the brakes, the drums on the back ones, and the discs on the front ones, as well as the pads. But overall, not too bad on that stuff. Let's see here. Let's get it to jump us up here. We're able to repair the cross member. This is the most expensive thing we did have to buy, was a new steering rack. So that did cost us quite a bit. But, you know, I mean, that is an integral part of the vehicle there. You need that to be working properly. So nothing could be done about that. Had to be replaced. I find it interesting sometimes how it makes you put the rubber bushings in. And then other parts, like the in other areas, you're using rubber bushings, but it doesn't make you put them in. So, bit odd, but it's alright. I mean, I'm sure there's a bushing of some sort there with the shock absorber, but it just automatically does that for us. Get the wheel hub bearing in there, that on, the hubcap. We're sort of long distancing this right now, but we should get brought up there right now with this one. There we go. Get these rubber bushings in. Did I put the sway bar on the other side? I'm not sure I did. So I may have to go back and do that still. Alright, let's exit. Yep, still have the sway bar for this side. And there we go. That would have been one of those things in the past that would have sort of scared me, but now it's one that I've gotten comfortable enough with redoing a car. I know where everything goes. So it's pretty straightforward. Alright. Let's go ahead and move this over to lift A, because I just prefer lift A. And we've got this engine that we're taking out, if I remember correctly. Knocking noises from the engine bay, replace timing parts, car is loud. Alright, so we're going to have to pull the exhaust as well, probably. First thing we're going to do is drain the oil. There we go. Send that back. Well, there's our problem as far as the exhaust. You know what, we'll take off the other one too, because if we're doing all this other work, we might as well take them all off. We're gonna have to take off the manifold here, it looks like, as well. The headers. Oh, alright, so we're gonna have to take off the back wheels in order to get this engine off. Alrighty then. Well, that's interesting, but I don't hate it. Don't have to take them fully off, but you know what? That disc, a little bit messy. So while we're at it, I mean, this car's been well taken care of, you can tell. So why not take that off? Everything else looks perfectly fine there. Disc looks okay on this one, but definitely the caliper could use some work. And we'll take that disc too, just to make sure. Alright, get this gearbox off. An absolutely enormous drive shaft here. Get that starter off. While we're here, we'll pull these pieces off as well. Gearbox is going to need some work, it looks like. Alright. You know, since we took the back wheels off, let's take the front ones too. Make sure all the wheels are done nicely. It's just one of those things when there's a car that looks this good, I want to make sure it's just taken care of well. Not a requirement, but I want to do it. And it's my garage, so I'm going to do what I feel like doing. Alright. All that's taken care of there. I do want to take this radiator just in case it's got any issues to it. Then let's go ahead and get our lift here and pull this engine out. There we go. To remove the engine first, unmount air filter base V8 from the car. Okay, that's a new one on me, but we can do that. Guessing that I'm going to have to get at it from underneath the vehicle. Oh, no, I'm not. Oh, we'll definitely take all these pieces off as well. Because why not? See what happens now. Oil reserve. So I do have to take that oil reserve off. Very interesting. There is quite a bit to this vehicle, and I don't hate that at all. Oh, wow. That's an interesting thing in and of itself. Alright, now let's see. Very different than your standard engine pullout. But as I said, definitely don't hate it. Alright, we got the engine pulled out. You can go back to where you belong. I always get that wrong. Alright. So. Sort of put us in a little bit close here, but that's alright. We'll get it taken care of there. Alright, let's back off. Alright, that's all been taken off. Start getting these rollers off. Definitely one of the more complex engines I've seen. And has an enormous amount of parts, and I'm going to take it all the way apart because I want to fix any issues that it might be having. Alright, we got this throttle housing here. Get this throttle off. Wow. This thing is definitely over-engineered, I'd say, but I love it. As I said, we're taking the engine all the way down, so we're going to make sure it's completely 100%. And this is a lot more than I had to do, but as I said, I'm wanting to do it. Alright, it looks like actually it's a good thing we are, because one of the camshafts on this side is worn down. Oh, wow. Yeah, definitely good that we've decided to take it all the way apart because these parts weren't very visible at all. And I mean, really, reading the list, I probably would have had no idea what these were because I'd never seen a part like that nor heard of a part like that. Alright, let's take apart this side now. I'm pretty sure we've actually surpassed what we needed to do as far as points in order to get the next story mission. But you know what? That's fine by me. I still want to do this car, and I'm going to enjoy it, as I am already. Alright. Now we've got it to a bit more of a recognizable stage. Let's go ahead and get that oil pan off. Odd with a vehicle that has so many bolts to it and stuff that the oil pan on this one's only held in by 4 bolts. I find that a little bit interesting. Alright. Last few here. Then we'll be able to take out the pistons. Now none of this I think had to be taken out, but if we're doing the job, we might as well do the job properly. There we go. We've got all that. Now let's head over here and let's separate these wheels. We're not going to put new tires on them, but we will improve the rims so that way they're looking top quality as well. That way everything on this vehicle is just top quality overall. I mean, it is a Mercedes afterwards. Want it to look as good as it should. Guessing this is probably the most expensive vehicle we've had in the shop. Alright. Lots of stuff to put in repairs for. You know, I'm thinking while we're here, let's take this stuff out of here too. And make sure it's running at peak performance. There we go. So a lot of it was able to be repaired. things like the ignition coils, we knew we were going to have to buy new ones of those, so I'm not worried about those in the slightest. But everything else I want at 100%. So I'm going to go through, purchase the things we need, then we'll be back and we'll go ahead and reassemble this massive engine and this amazing car. Alright, that took a little bit of time there, but I feel it was well worth it. Lots of parts to buy, and definitely some of them were expensive. You're basically paying the Mercedes tax. But I think you get what you pay for in that way. I mean, if you're going to drive a Mercedes, then you've got to be expecting that. So we'll get all the tires balanced. Then we'll get to reassembly of everything here. I did not replace the tires because I wasn't going to make them pay that expense. But I did get their rims cleaned up nicely, so it's one of those things that if I'm going to take the tires off, I might as well separate them and take care of the rims as well. In this case, I had to take the tires off because we had to take that gearbox and such out in order to deal with the, hey, we balanced 100 tires. Nice. But in order to deal with this engine. So, very unique engine overall. But I can say the only thing that I had left in my warehouse basically there that was not 100% was the tires. So I feel good about the reassembly of everything else here. We'll get this last one done. Then we can start rebuilding the engine. And it is a massive engine to rebuild, but that's fine. I'm looking forward to seeing this engine in all its glory. Didn't want the, there we go. Alright, I want to put in the brake servo and the ABS pump before we get involved with anything else here, because easier to get to these before this massive engine comes back in here. Same with the battery. Alright. There we go. Get that engine block on there. Crankshaft put in place. All these pistons are brand new with their conrods and their rings. I mean, the parts that I took out were not exactly bad, but if we're going this level, I want them to be perfect. That one in place, get the first of the crankshaft bearing caps in place. And for all the parts that I did buy new in order to replace the ones, I was able to sell the old parts since, as I said, a lot of them weren't in bad shape. So I made most of the money back on it. So really, as I said, I'm doing this because I felt like it. It's not what you would actually do for a customer, but I'm not going to get my hands on this type of an engine too often, I'd say, even in this game. And so I wanted to really make it shine by the time I was done with it. Alright, we'll get this oil pan on. Now we can go ahead and rotate the engine. Get the flywheel on. We did have to replace it. clutch plate was actually good, so we didn't have to replace it. But the pressure plate did need to be replaced, as did the clutch bearing. So, get all those in place. Get the shoes in here that had to be replaced. It was one of the main things that they were wanting done with this engine. That way the timing chains are held properly in place. I'm guessing that the shoes are plastic and that's why they had to be replaced, but not exactly sure. Alright, let's get the alternator over here. Can get the water pump put in. Water pump pulley. The crankshaft pulley. More of the idle rollers, because there are quite a few of them on this car. Get the steering pump put in place. Another idle roller. Now we can get the first of the belts on. Then a whole bunch more idle rollers. Alright. Let's go ahead and put these cam gears in place. Now we can put the camshafts themselves in. And almost everything, as I said, on this car had the Mercedes price tag, because even like these camshaft caps are specific, and so each one of those was going to be $35 a piece. So repairing what we could on the car definitely was the right thing to do, because we want this car to last as long as possible without having to get enormous repairs done. Alright. Throw in these spark plugs here. Put on this brand new exhaust. These exhaust pieces were absolutely insane as far as the price tag on them. But again, that's sort of what you get with this kind of a vehicle, I think. So, and the exhaust did have to be replaced. There wasn't anything I could do about it. Alright, we'll get this one tied down here. Get the manifold put in place on this side. Again, had to be bought new, couldn't fix what we had. So, definitely a major price tag. Now this fuel rail, the oil filter, alright, the throttle bodies. The intake cover, perfect. I think that's all we can put in place there. Yeah, gearbox. Oh, we're missing the ignition coils on this side. Definitely a silly mistake on my part. Let's see. Everything else, yeah, it's gonna go in the car. Alright, so let's go ahead and take engine off of there. Now we need to go get the crane again. Put the engine in. That's the look I'm wanting right there. That's just gorgeous. One of two air boxes, which also were extraordinarily expensive. But, as I said, sort of what you get into if you decide to have a vehicle like this. Alright, put the radiator in place. The fan housing. And then we can close this for the time being. Lift it up here. Install that oil reservoir. We will see the completed engine up top again at a point here. Yes, we do have to put in the oil for it, so we're not done quite yet with it. Put in this monstrous drive shaft. It's the most heavy-duty drive shaft I think I've ever seen. On a car. I mean, I'm sure on a larger vehicle they'd have one like this, but on a car, especially not that big of a car, that seems extreme. Have those wheels looking beautiful. Get this axle put back in place. Starter needs to be put back in. There we go. So that's all taken care of. Let's drop the car down and take a look at this engine fully rebuilt. That is gorgeous. Is that all the oil that it took? That doesn't seem right to me. Yeah, no, we need to put some more oil in. Evidently there was just an issue with my mouse there. There we go. Check it again. Yeah, that's in the sweet spot there. Let's close this up. And you know, with this vehicle, we're going to have to go ahead and take it to the test path to hear this engine. Oh, darn. Alright, so I'm going to have to take off all the tires. Unfortunately, there were two different size tires, and I'm going to have to figure out which is which. Alright, now let's try this again. So we have the 295s and the 265s. Let's put the smaller ones on the front. So the 265s. That seems like it would make sense to me. Yeah, it looks good to me. Alright, now let's go ahead and take it over to the test track. Yes, I want to hear what this car sounds like. Oh yeah, that's a nice sound. It could take a little bit more work, but overall, I'd say it's a very nice car. Oh, and I love the gull-wing door there. That is just awesome. So with that, yeah. I'm very pleased with the job we did. We spent some money, but it really was worthwhile in the end. Took care of all those problems, took care of those problems, and we are good to go. So with that, let's see real fast what it is we're going to be working on in the next episode. So it's going to be a Mayan M8. We're not going to read the story and everything on it yet, but that is going to be our target for the next episode. So if you enjoyed what we did in this episode, please go ahead and click that like button. If you've not already, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon, so that you're aware when I produce new videos in the future. Thank you, and I hope to see you all again for more Car Mechanic Simulator 2018.